Five, four, three, two, one. Take a breath. Let's dive in.
Is it green? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we're green. We're ready to go. We're keeping it in.
Let's do it, brother.
All right. You describe yourself as an experienced caregiver. Now, what does that phrase mean to you, and why is it that lived experience is so critical to this space?
All right. So the best way to describe it, first of all, thank you, Obi, for having this conversation with me. It means a lot to me. The more we can talk about have these conversations about what I think is a caregiver crisis in this country, the better off we're going to be and do something about it. So I really appreciate you. I really do. So the best way to define what an experienced caregiver is to tell you what one is not. And that's somebody who is totally caught with their pants down, usually involuntarily have been assigned a caregiver role because their parent, their spouse, someone's had an event, whether it's a fall or a heart attack or a diagnosis. And they're completely unprepared, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially. Experience really means that you actually are in the thick of it, baptismal by fire. There isn't really a guidebook out there. I wish there was, but unfortunately, every single caregiver role is different. And the reason why it's different is because every family has its different dynamics, whether it's economic, whether it's societal, cultural. So there's no cookie cutter approach. But for someone who has lived experience like myself, what I'm able to do, though, is at least approach it in a reasonable manner to minimize the stress that ultimately will occur. And I call it the 3 Ps. That's what my experience has taught me, the 3 Ps. The first P is you must plan. So, Uncle, let me ask you a question. Would you ever go on a trip without ever looking at some sort of internet or call a travel agent, or you're not just going to go to the airport and jump on a plane, right?
No, I definitely would not do that.
Right. So P is plan. You've got to plan for a journey. All right. And then the second P is provisions. So you're not just going to show up, get out of your car, go to the airport with no suitcase, no money, and try to get on a plane and go on a journey, right? So provisions are really important on a journey, meaning education, knowledge, resources, finances, legal support, resources that are in the community. So those are all very important things that you must prepare for. And I'm able to handle that pretty well now because I've experienced caregiving. I experienced my first caregiver role when my father, who had a stroke in 2006. I was the unexperienced caregiver then, caught my pants down. Didn't know a thing, didn't know what to do. Now that I care for my mother the second go round, I'm really experienced. Am I still making mistakes and still stressing out? Absolutely, but not as much. And the third P is probably the most important. That's people. So you've got to identify who's going to be your tribe, who is going to be there for you on this journey. Because guess what? You can't do this alone.
Absolutely. Yeah, something I thought was very fascinating. After we met, I've always been a fan of economics, seeing where the future is going, and looking at the crisis that you described. We have an aging population, and we don't have an infrastructure planning. You talk about planning for that eventuality. Like, who's going to care for the aging population? How are we, influencing policies to prepare us for the future? And so that led me down a research, rabbit hole. Then I started looking at psychology, and even when in certain situations, like you've described, that everyone's situation is different. There's, country, culturally it could be different. Financially, it could be different. And even in instances where an individual can pay or afford care, sometimes the heart isn't there. Like the emotion isn't there. And the guilt that some people, find when they have to outsource because they work in a corporate environment.
Yes.
They have the money for care, but they don't necessarily have the time for care. The guilt that's associated with taking time off, and you're telling your CEO, hey, listen, I have to go see my mom or see my dad or my child, and they look at you as if you've done something wrong, or they make you feel guilty,
Yes.
and they make that's a dilemma that a lot of people still face today.
Yeah.
So how has your experience in the corporate world prepared you for things like this?
Well, I don't want to disappoint you, but I can't really say that my experiences in the corporate world prepared me for a caregiver journey. So I'm sorry to disappoint you. What I will tell you has prepared me is actually values in my family, understanding finances from a young age, meeting my grandparents, understanding the value and respect that they deserve, conversations with so many other people that have been in the trenches. I get probably my best valued education by when I joined a private a private Facebook group called Working Daughters. There's 10,000 women and Zack and a few other men in this
Yeah.
group. And when I go on to that private Facebook group, I can read posts, and there's a good chance I will find somebody who's going through exactly what I'm going through, and they will talk about it. Or I can ask the question, and the people will respond to it. In order for a corporate experience to be able to help you, they've got to be able to understand what you're even going through. Nobody talks about this in the workplace.
Yes.
And so it is a big challenge. And that's why it is part of the caregiver crisis. Now, look, it doesn't all fall on the employer shoulders. I mean, it's society, it's our government, it's our own individually responsibility, right?
Mhm.
But I would say that when I first got that phone call from my brother to say my dad had a stroke, I didn't know what to do, but somebody at work said, Zack, aren't you in HR? I go, yeah. Well, why don't you call EAP? So I'm like,
The irony, right?
yeah, really ironic. And I'm like, you know what? Yes. But guess what, Oakley? And this is 2006. When I called EAP, they really couldn't help me with it except to give me a list of home care agencies in Charlotte, North Carolina. And all I did was pick the first one on the top of the list and called them. They asked for my credit card, 2 weeks non-refundable. And I never met them, did it all over the phone. And my mother fired them on the second day because we just had not had a good discussion about expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not have a list of questions I should be asking a home care. So I think that the corporate world has a great opportunity to do exactly what you asked. But we're not there yet.
I agree. And I've
Is that
seen
a trick question then?
No, not at all. Not at all. I do agree. I'll say something that my generation got to experience that has been beneficial. When my first child was born, I immediately went back to work. I took the week off, went straight back to work, and that did not make my wife happy. Right? The second go around, child number 2, there's this thing called paid parental leave. So either spouse or significant other can now take time off
Yes.
to, whether you're doing a child adoption or foster care or new births and what have you.
Yeah.
And my wife was happy
Yes.
because
Yes.
we got to spend time together, bond together, and that wasn't around the first go around. Second go around was much smoother. There was less friction.
Yes.
because I could be a caregiver because the infrastructure allowed for it,
Yes.
and that's something
Yes.
that I don't take for granted.
Oakley, I was in HR in the early 90s. And I would tell you there was a time when that was never even thought of to
Mhm.
help a new father, uh, take time off to support his spouse, his significant other, or her significant other, and have raise that child for the first few weeks or months. And I will tell you also that there were horror stories of
Yes,
women leaving to take that paid time off, but then having negative consequences in
yes,
result of.
yes,
Let's say, for example, they were on the talent planning list. They were on the fast track. And believe it or not, whether it was said out loud, there was bias there. They
yes,
were basically mentally taken off that fast track. Oh, they're having a child. Oh, already starting to take time off. Thank goodness we've come a long way since then. We still have some pockets of issues there, but when it comes to new parents or childbirth, or adoption, I have to say kudos to organizations. They've come a long way. That's what I'm hoping we're going to do the same for elder care or adult children with disabilities.
yeah. Something that I think is profound. I love looking at not just people's bios, but I love seeing how the titles they attach themselves.
Hmm.
That's very fascinating to me, and analyzing your work and seeing how impactful it is, and having experienced certain things that I see the relevance of your work. For example, like inclusion in the workplace, having females in leadership in the corporate world that have had kids and they're married, and there's certain things that they're now bringing that experience so that the younger generation doesn't have to experience the same things that they experience.
Yes.
Perfect example. There was a routine doctor's visit for my wife, and my boss comes to me one day and was like, "Hey, you can go be with your wife, right?
Ah, love your boss. I love your boss.
Right? Like
Yes.
my wife didn't need me to be there, but the fact that I just left work, showed up, had her appointment because
Can I ask you a question?
yes, absolutely.
I know you're the host here, but
No,
I
ask me
got to
whatever.
ask you, how did your boss even know that?
She took the time to note.
How did your boss know that your wife is going on a doctor's appointment to even say that to you?
Just the check-ins, like check-ins with the other managers.
And
The
you
check-ins.
shared it.
Yes,
So there in itself is where we're trying to get to,
there's a connection.
where the one-on-one conversations can go more like this.
Yes,
And this is called empathy.
yes,
Now, everybody wants to know, what is this big trending word empathy all about? And I'll give an example, and I have to give credit to my good friend in Toronto, Antonio Savalas, who is a empathy leader. And he taught me this. He said, look, in your one-on-ones, it's actually, let me ask you,
yeah.
what's a typical first question in a one-on-one? Come on, quick, just what's on?
A typical question in a one-on-one. Hey, where are you at with this project?
Right.
Just right away.
There goes right to work. Or let's try something even more generic. How's it going? You're still thinking work. He wants to know, or she wants to know, where am I doing on my deadlines? How am I doing with my clients, right?
Yes.
Okay, scratch that. How about this for a first question? You ready?
Yes.
Hey, Oakland, tell me something that is probably going to be quite difficult. You're going to have to deal with this week.
That's a beautiful question. She did do that.
Mm.
She did more than that. I
Good.
remember when
It's a great boss, by the way.
when I began working with her years ago, first thing she was like, "Listen, I'm not going to talk to you. I want you to just get time to know everyone, know the team." And from there, she devoted 2 hours for us to just talk to each other as people, get to know each other, what we like, what sports team we love, and
Yeah.
just knowing each other as people. And
Yeah.
then she said something very profound to me. She said, "People don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care."
That's right.
And from there, the synergy that created, and the culture, because now I took that back to my team and was able to replicate that, because there's a mirroring effect, right? If at the top everyone is being empathetic, as you've said, and then at the bottom everyone's also being empathetic, then you're going to have high morale. You're going to have a great place to work. You're going to have an environment where people matter. You're not just a number. You matter.
Yes.
And when people feel that they matter, guess what? The productivity also goes up.
Right.
And
And when you've created a culture like that, imagine this, talking about mirroring or role modeling. How about a senior leader who gets up and talks about their caregiving experience and their challenges? And all of a sudden, all the direct reports under that leader are all of a sudden saying, wow, we're not alone. And wow,
they're
I
human.
think I'm comfortable to
They're
even
human.
actually bring this up to them now.
They're human. I think that's the thing, that the human connection. Sometimes we look at people as their positions and we don't look at them as the person.
Yeah.
And that takes away from the possible things they could contribute, because we're not creating the culture of inclusion, a culture of just sharing the human story. Because at the end of the day, whatever our experiences are in the corporate world, it's not as though we clock out, and if someone insulted us while we were on the clock, we just forget it the moment we clock out. Like, we're people, and we take things with us to the ones we love. And so we could either take positive things to them or we could take negative things to them. It's not just, you don't just check that at the door, because we don't operate like that. We don't
Right.
have an on and off
Right.
switch.
Awesome.
And so that's something that I've come to love, and in my managerial journey, I've tried to always be mindful of that everyone has someone or something to go home to.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be the negative thing that they take home with them,
Yes. Absolutely. And if I can bring what you just talked about to a head as to why this is a crisis. And when you look at roles in an organization, who's getting impacted the most? Believe it or not, it's not the entry levels, because they can't afford to leave their job and care for somebody. They got to figure it out. Get a family member, get a neighbor. Now your more senior roles, women especially, won't blink. They will leave their jobs if they're not getting the flexibility and feel like the support they need at work. And let me tell you what, and I know I don't need to tell you this, how costly of a turnover that more senior role is to an organization.
You can't teach
And
experience.
There's a ton of evidence out there. We had a guest recently from Harvard, and he shared some research with us. So this isn't just anecdotal. There's actually research that's proven and shown the bottom line is hit. Not that should be the only reason why we're doing this, but it is one of the reasons.
No, of course. You've taken a prominent figure that there's the. I look at it's like a car, right? A car has an engine, has a transmission, has wheels, and the ultimate goal of the car is to get somewhere. You take out the engine, you take out the transmission, you take off a wheel off the car can't do its function, right? It can't go where it needs to go. And if the goal is to make money, and you don't have the experience there to take us to where we need to go, then all of that stops.
Yes.
So I can definitely say that there have been times where there have been turnovers that it takes quite a few years to fill that void. Whether they're the glue of the company or the glue of a division, it's not just their output or the fact that they're the most productive or the fact that they have the highest, sales increases or things of that nature, that their Q1's always, the best. It's the fact that they've integrated themselves so well with their people. They're so in tuned that the success that they bring isn't just, hey, I tell people what to do. It's that they're connected to the financial aspect of the business and the people aspects of the business as well.
Without a doubt. I mean, it's when that wheel falls off or that engine quits working, think about it. The long-term impact is, like you just said, is tremendous. If you think about a particular leader who has relationships both internally and externally with clients, has an incredible asset, which we call intelligence, that she or he will take with them. And the fact that you're going to have to spend quite a bit to try to come even close to replacing them. And even when you do replace them, it will take them a while to get up to speed. It's extremely costly. And then more importantly, the impact it has on the culture, because word spreads.
Yes.
And they're going to want to know, why did so-and-so leave? And it eventually will get out.
Yes.
And that will impact way more than you could even imagine.
Yes. And then the replacement they're the face. They're the face. So they get to have, not the slander is a strong word, but they feel the brunt of that as well.
Sure.
Because everything that they're on under a microscope, they're compared, if they're newly appointed to their position, everything they do is wrong. Even if their intent is good, that's not the outcome.
Yeah.
There's always the backlash. They don't know, they don't have the trust that the former had. And that's always devastating to see that sometimes good people definitely suffer because of things like that.
My dream, Oakley, my partner and I,
Yes.
Selma Archer, my partner and I,
Yes.
our dream, our purpose, our mission, our vision is to create a work environment where nobody has to decide between their job and having to care for someone's important to them in their life. That's our vision.
That's quality of life. And that's culture, and Zack, I want to say thank you for the work that you do and bringing meaning to people's lives, including mine. You're definitely a value add, and in your acts of kindness, it's not just in the things that you do, but it's the things that you post, and that your work it does not go unseen. And it's been a tremendous asset to not only myself, but to quite a few people in my personal life. I assure you that.
Well, I sincerely appreciate Oakley. I don't necessarily look for compliments, but what I do look for is some validation, because that gives me the inspiration to continue. Listen, man, I'm 63 years old, and I really want to go out of this life knowing that we made a difference, and we figured out that this is the thing to do right now. And the fact that you share that, and the fact that you're reading our posts, the fact that you even invited me to have this conversation with you, just validates that we're somewhere on the right track. I appreciate you.
More than that, and just to just bring it home. There was this newsletter. You might have been familiar. Maybe it was a part of your life. This newsletter or what have you. That the pandemic happened, and somehow this newsletter just was able to help a lot of people in the corporate world.
I'm not familiar with it.
You're not familiar?
Tell me.
I don't know. You tell the people about the newsletter.
You're talking about my newsletter.
Yes. Yes.
You're too kind, my man. You're too kind. Selma and I, so just real quick, Selma and I created this vision. She and I worked together in corporate. She was in legal. Mm-hmm. I was in HR, and we would always cross paths and work together. And then we kind of lost touch for 10 years. And she finds me on LinkedIn and reached out. And I'm like, oh my goodness, Selma, let's get on the phone and talk. And that morning I was in my car ready to go into the building, my office. And she was out. She runs like a half a marathon every morning. She's in California. I'm in New Jersey. I'm not kidding. Okay, I was in my car running that gas, running idle for 2 hours while she was running. And we talked about our caregiver journeys, and we had no idea what each of us went through while we were working. We were both going through some pretty heavy duty caregiver stuff. And so when we talked about it, we're like, you know what, we should really do something about it. Let's write a book. So we started writing a book. And then we said, you know what? I think
Can you share the name of the book, please?
sure, Working Caregivers, the Invisible Employees. And caregivers in this context is unpaid family members. And the care recipient could be anybody from 18 and older, adult child with, can no longer live independently, to a spouse, a sibling, a friend, a neighbor. It could be a grandparent, it could be anything. So, so we wrote the book. We said, let's maybe do something about this. We created a podcast under the same name. We created a website and we created a newsletter.
Yes.
And we're really excited about the newsletter. So thank you for shouting that out, because in the newsletter, we kind of break it up to a quick, easy read. We have 2 news articles of relevance. Thank you. And we have a blog, which Selma writes 99% of them. She's an incredible writer. And we have the podcast of the week that we produce every 2 weeks. And then we have a great section that's called Stories from Real Working Caregivers. And we are just honored by the people that are willing to meet with us and share their stories. And we've interviewed over 35 people so far, and they're all different.
Yes, I've noticed that.
From different backgrounds. One that I am most proud of is Marion Calloway, who's 21 years old. And he shared his caregiver story that started at 10.
Yeah.
And it brought tears to me to interview him and to share his story. So the newsletter, we hope, brings value. At the end of the newsletter, we also give 3 pieces of media that you can connect with: a podcast, a book, or video. We try to make it interesting, and we try to make a theme out of it. And we're really excited about the response. Again, validation is important to us because, Selma and I are very passionate about this. We want to make sure that it's going to bring value. And people like you or anyone I bring up what we're doing always has another story to share or gives us some type of validation. And that really gives us energy to continue this project.
Thank you. I mean, it's been a great honor. I really, really, I'll say that I'm blessed to have met you and to just have you a part of my life. And I definitely see you as a mentor, and I appreciate all the value that you've added to my life. So thank you. And my wife thanks you too. She's very excited that we're hanging out right now.
Well, I appreciate that. Listen, we're currently here at PodFest at the Renaissance Hotel Orlando at SeaWorld. This is my 10th year coming to this event. This is your third year. Oakley, you and I met 2 years ago, and it was kind of by accident.
It was definitely.
We just talked about it before we hit record, and I don't think there's anything as accidents.
Yes.
Except the ones that happen on the highway.
Yes.
But I believe in fate. I'm really appreciative of a person like you in my life. We probably only talk once or twice a year, but it doesn't really matter. But I really, really respect what you're doing, the conversations you're trying to have. And I asked you what you want to get out of this conversation, and I love what you said. And got to be honest with you, I'm feeling really good right now.
All right. Well,
I hope you are too.
I definitely am. Thank you, Zach.
All right, brother.
If you enjoyed today's content, please like and subscribe for more. Be free.